First became involved in politics when I ran for city council, and that was 8 years ago. A gentleman named Rick Cronauer, who's now a magistrate, was the District A city councilman, and Rick did a wonderful job. He really helped the neighborhoods and the people that reached out to him, and I wanted to do the same thing and try to do as good a job as Rick did. So I decided to run for city council in District A, which is where I live, South Wilkes-Barre. And I was lucky enough to win that council seat. I really took it seriously as a job that, almost a full-time job. And what I mean by that is I would get calls on holidays and weekends, and it might be an Easter, and my wife, George, telephone for you. But you answer the calls, and what I tried to do that was what I thought a councilman should do is if someone called me up and they'd say, I have a problem, Councilman Brown, I'd say, well, where do you live? When will you be home? And I would go to their homes, and I would see what their issue is before I made that call to City Hall. And I would actually see it for myself. And then I would make that call to City Hall, and I'd be there when someone came there to make sure that we got the issues resolved. I felt wonderful doing that, and I'm happy to say we were successful in resolving a lot of issues. But the problem is, you can resolve one issue and another one pops up, and there is always a list of 20 issues or problematic properties that you're working on, because you represent roughly 8,000 people in the district. That's a rough idea. Large area. So it made me feel good. I felt whenever I got something accomplished for one of my constituents, I felt good. But the thing is, you're a councilman for the entire city, not just your district. So I would also get phone calls from other districts too, and I'd make sure that working with their councilman, we got that resolved. So you're a councilman in your district where you're elected, but you're a councilman at large for the whole city. And when you make choices at city council meetings, you're making it for the entire city, not for your district. So you have to keep that mindset that you're a councilman for the entire city. Anyway, that's how I got involved in politics. As I ran for city council. I was on council for 4 years. After that, I decided to run for mayor, and I ran against the current mayor, Mayor George. I lost by 151 votes in that election. Now, when you think about 151 votes, that's pretty tough. And also, when you look at that and you cut that in half, if I could have convinced 80 of those people from that 151 to vote for me, I would have been the mayor the last 4 years. Didn't work out, and I just had to accept that. But in my heart, I always had a passion for being the mayor of Wilkes-Barre. And so over the last 4 years, I saw what took place, and I knew I could do a better job. I could make better decisions and better choices. So I just sat on these different various boards that I'm on, and I just waited for my opportunity to run again. So we did that. January 31st, we made our announcement that we were running for mayor. And, Steve, it was a terrible, terrible evening. It was probably 5 or 6 degrees out. It was icy. It was terrible. And I rented the back room at a local restaurant, Madonna's. Now, I said to my wife right before that happened, I said, Marianne, we're going to have 5 or 10 people here. No one's coming out tonight. It's terrible. I said, we'll have our grandkids here and our family. Well, what happened was people started coming in, and we packed the place to where we had to open up the back room to the entire restaurant. We had over 200 people that came that night, and I was just amazed by it. So that started the process. And then we decided to, we didn't have the money that Mayor George had. He had over $30,000 to start. I had $1,754. So I borrowed some money, and also what we did was we sat down with our committee and we said we have to do a grassroots campaign. We can't afford to do the expensive TV ads and the newspaper ads and the radio ads. So we did a grassroots campaign. And what we did was we put a very large sign up on the wall here in my office. It had every single street on it. And as we would canvass the streets, we'd color that off. Well, towards the end of the campaign, we had every single street colored off. We knocked on over 1,500 doors. And a week before the campaign was over, we hit Parsons Manor a second time and South Wilkes-Barre because we needed to make sure that we had a good turnout from those areas. But we hit every single street in Wilkes-Barre. And the feedback we were getting was phenomenal. It was amazing, you know, very positive. Yes, we want Mr. Brown in. So that was taking place, and we had a debate. We had a mayoral debate, and I believe we did pretty well in that debate. We continued to walk the neighborhoods, and we made phone calls. What's funny is we'd meet here to walk the neighborhoods. If I was 10 minutes late, I had my committee call me saying, George, you're 10 minutes late. We could have already been out on the street. Get over here, right? I'm on my way. But you know, what was funny is they were pushing, and they had that intent to get George Brown elected. And they're the ones that won this campaign for me, not me. But we worked hard. We had people here on Thursday nights, a phone bank, making phone calls. Besides people that were with me out walking the streets, we had people here making phone calls and getting the word out that George Brown needs your vote. Please vote for George Brown. We did meet and greets throughout the entire city, all 5 districts. They weren't fundraisers, they were meet and greets. And people came and they talked to us, they asked us questions. What made our platform different? What made me different from the current mayor? You know, what was our issues that we wanted to address? And so we made our case to all 5 districts. And we had a couple fundraisers, but mostly they were meet and greets. And one of the things that I'm passionate about that I made the public aware of on January 31st when I first made my announcement is cutting my salary as mayor and not taking the medical benefits. By no means am I a rich man, Steve, but when I sat down and talked to my wife and I said, Mary Ann, I can't take this full salary, this $82,000. I can't take this very, very rich payout for the medical benefits from these people that I'm knocking on doors and they're saying, Mr. Brown, I'm living on a fixed income. Please do your best, you know. And I listened to that and I talked to my wife and we made that conscious decision. And I made that decision on January 31st, and I'm telling you today, that is going to happen. I'm taking the pay cut. I'm not taking the benefits. And it was figured out to be about $51,000 a year I'm giving back to the citizens of Wilkes-Barre. So that's over $200,000 over 4 years as their mayor. And that's because I don't feel we can afford it. Okay, we're in a city that was declared distressed by the mayor, and that's not something that I'm in favor of doing. I want to bring back the economics. But anyway, getting back to the campaign, we worked hard when we did petition signings. I had one young lady that was out and she walked with a cane and getting petition signatures. And it got so bad, she went back to the car, her husband got her walker. Now, Steve had to understand, these people are so devoted to our campaign. It's terrible weather, and they're out walking, you know, and this one particular lady with her husband did as best she could with the walker until she had to go back to the car. I could not ask these people to do that. They did that on their own. So the petitions was wonderful. We had so many more than we needed. Then we started knocking on doors, like I said. We looked at polling places. Now there's 14 polling places, but 20 wards in the city of Wilkes-Barre. We were very lucky. We took all 20 wards. And that's because we had a lot of people working the polls. Some of the polls, we had 3, 4, 5 people at a polling place because they wanted to be there. Some people worked from 7 in the morning until 8 at night because they would not leave. I would get relief from, nope, I'm here, George. I'm working for you. I'm getting the message out. So that was, the campaign was driven by these people. And then election night came, and I started seeing the results coming in, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, it was just an amazing result of the hard work of these people. So that was the heart of our campaign. It was the people that came here in this office, or came to our meet and greets, or came to our fundraisers. I mean, some of these people, they donated money to our campaign, and I know, you know, they weren't rich people. $20, $25, $10, I'd get $10 in an envelope. And that's what helped us out. So anyway, they were hardworking people. They were wonderful. They were supportive. And that's why I keep giving them the credit for winning this campaign. Now it's my time to pay them back by working hard for them.